Hello students, and welcome back to Hexxit Education. I apologize for my appearance. Ordinarily, when I address you in this classroom, I'm not fully armed and armored, but I thought it was appropriate today to give you a glimpse into the future, or rather a partial glimpse into the future. So as you can see, I'm wearing not only partial Hexxit scale armor, the headpiece, the chest piece, and legs, in addition to cloud boots. I also got this in reserve over here. You'll notice I don't have the set bonus because I only have these 3 pieces on me. But if I do this, I do. And you'll also see all the different weapons that I have in my inventory, especially in my hotbar. However, notice all these weapons have pretty much one thing in common, with the exception of the meteorite weapons, and that is none of them are enchanted. That's because in today's episode, we're going to be talking about the Enchanting Plus system. Now, this lesson shouldn't take too long, but I do want to go over a couple things about Enchanting Plus, and all the wonderful ways that you can use Enchanting Plus to benefit your Hexxit game and enhance your already pretty epic weapons. So, without further ado, let's head into our library and see what we can enchant. Oh, slipped my mind again. Okay, so before we start our lesson on Enchanting Plus, I do want to make one correction. I did actually, in one of our previous episodes on the various tools that are available and weapons that are available through Better Dungeons, I did neglect to include this. This is the Earth Crusher. This is a drop from Better Dungeons. You get it off of the Minotaur bosses, and it slipped my mind. I had it on my notes and I forgot to mention in our previous episode, so I want to rectify that. Its damage is roughly equivalent to a diamond sword, so pretty average in terms of Hexxit. If you hold right click and wait, it gives you a non-griefing minor explosion. So it's somewhat similar to a big sword, except that it's dropped instead of craftable. Okay, now we have that out of the way. I just want to talk briefly about some of the things you can enchant. And what I mean by that is that pretty much you can enchant most of the things that you would imagine you can enchant. So you can enchant, for example, pickaxes, axes, shovels, spades, swords, or giant swords, bows, and I've got the scythe and the glaive here from Harken Scythe, and of course the normal 4 armor pieces. In addition, I found you can actually enchant these also. I've got here the Diamond Spear from Better Dungeons. This is craftable. I'm not sure why you actually want to, but you can in fact put it into the interface and add levels to it. So another thing you can do is use the Kama, which is a weapon from Natura. Not the greatest thing in the world, but you can put levels on it. Maybe make it unbreaking or something. You can also put, I'm not sure why exactly, put levels into a sickle or a sledge. And this to me doesn't make a heck of a lot of sense. I guess maybe if you want to use if you want to use this, I don't know, a little bit faster possibly, maybe put haste on it. But yeah, you can put it in here. So Hexxit works in mysterious ways sometimes. Actually, what is Enchanting Plus? Enchanting Plus is a mod which supersedes the normal vanilla enchanting system, and I believe, this thing wasn't in the way. Okay, so if you want to, I believe you can click on vanilla, and it will switch back to your normal interface if you so choose. But in many ways, this interface is superior. If nothing else, then it allows you to tailor your enchanting. Something you cannot do with the vanilla system, even with books, really. So let's start off with the headpiece. And as far as I can tell, this applies to pretty much every piece of armor, every similar kind of weapon or a tool in Hexxit. I went through a number of the mods, and as far as I can tell, they all have the same pool of enchantments to use. There's no difference as far as I can tell. So we have protection, and what you do in order to enchant here is you just slide this bar over. Okay, there's one. Now notice when I took the protection, it greened out all these other protections. That's because, as you know, most of these protections are exclusive. You can't have more than one at a time. I think you can get around this by using books, but I'm not certain about that, honestly. Now, if you wanted more than this, you would just go 2, 3, and up to 4. So if you wanted to enchant this with protection 4, not a bad idea. You would just press E, and enchants it, and just use it as normal. Now, if you want to go back and say, oh, I'm not sure if I want protection, so you would remove it, and you notice it says -11. So hit that. Now I believe it costs 14 to enchant. Yeah, it costs 14 to enchant, and you're able to refund 11 back. So a net loss of 3, but not terrible. You still got most of your experience back, and you're able to re-enchant it with say fire protection, which is not too bad to have. Or respiration, aqua affinity, thorns, not too bad thing. I would, however, in this case, with Hexxit scale armor, I would always recommend putting at least unbreaking 2, possibly 3, but usually unbreaking 2 on all pieces of your Hexxit armor. It just makes a lot of sense. These things have very high durability to begin with, but having unbreaking on them just means they'll be able to last longer. And when you get into the big fights, you're definitely going to want as much durability and sort of staying power as you can. Okay, now this I'm actually not too sure about. What is this? Reading level 1? Okay, there we go. I just had to look this up because I wasn't really sure. Reading is actually a it's an enchantment from Bibliocraft that apparently allows you to read read what's inside various books and items. So let's see if this actually works. Yep, look, right up there above there, it shows you above it what it is. And I think if you go over to say a potion stand, it will show you what's in it. That could be fairly useful if you're trying to find out where things are quickly. So if you're like me and you happen to want to know where everything is there at any moment, that could be really useful. One thing I want to mention right now, and I should have brought this up first. One of the main differences about the Enchanting Plus, other than the GUI, is that unlike the vanilla enchanting system, it can accept more than 15 bookcase inputs. And in this case, I have 15, but it can actually go a little higher. They can actually go up to 32. But in that case, I would have had to make this little platform here a little bit higher. So basically, if you, I have the standard pattern on level 1 equal level with the enchanting table itself, and then I have a second level above it. It can accept the inputs from there. I think it can go up to a third, but I'm not certain about that. I believe it has to be in this shape, and ideally these two would also be occupied, but then you have to make a spiral coming up this way. I've done that. I've actually made towers with the enchanting table at the top, but I figure for simplicity's sake, I might as well make it kind of like this. Although, now that I think about it, I probably could have made it a little taller, a little closer to the ceiling, but then I would have felt cramped. So you get trade-offs for it and everything. Okay, so next thing I want to talk about is the chest piece, and what you can get here is just the normal protections, thorns and breaking, but you can also possibly get soul tether. Ah, very interesting. Okay, so the soul tether is actually an enchantment that's added from Legend gear. Turns out what this does is if you for example did not have keep inventory turned on, and you were worried about what happens if you die, you can just put a soul tether on your armor or items, and when you die, it will stay with you. It's kind of like a single item keep inventory setting. So I suppose it could be useful. Okay, so next thing I want to mention briefly is cold touch. We talked about this when we talked about our armor episodes. What cold touch does, if you have it on any one piece of armor, is that it makes water beneath you turn into an ice block. Very useful, especially in combination with the cloud boots. We'll talk about those in a moment. Magnetite Magnetization. That's something as if you were using one of these pickaxes here. If you are not using a meteorite tool, you may want to consider putting magnetization on one of your pieces of armor to aid in mining. Fiery aura. That deals fire damage to everything around you. Not always useful, especially against things that are immune to fire in the nether. exude that some Harkenside, so it's vitality and blood. Okay, so interesting. Apparently, blood is an enchantment from Harkenside, and basically what this does is basically either blood attunes an item. As far as I can tell, what that means is whenever whenever you use blood for various things. I think it includes in other blood augmentations with the with the Altar of Carnage, but it may also refer to uses of blood from various tools. So that could be somewhat useful. But the downside is that while the blood attune makes makes blood uses cheaper, it does never make souls cheaper, more expensive. That is twice as expensive, and it actually costs 37 levels. So it's not cheap. But if you happen to be going hard into Harkenside, it's not the worst thing to have. And it's pretty much the same thing for the leggings here as was for the chest piece. You can either blood attune it or you can soul attune. We also have afterlife here and decapitate. These are both from the Harkenside. When you get down to boots, it's a little bit of a different story. So we have protection, normal, feather falling. Very, very important thing. When you're enchanting your cloud boots, do not give it feather falling. It already comes pre-enchanted with feather falling X. You don't need this. It's a waste of levels. But I would always recommend that you put maximum unbreaking on your cloud boots. These things will be incredibly useful to you. And if you want, you can put soul tether. You can put cold touch on it also. Just to simplify things. I would definitely make enchanting your cloud boots your priority. Okay, so next up I want to talk briefly about the pickaxe. The one thing I want to mention right now is that when you have an item or tool that comes pre-enchanted, that is, it comes enchanted as a natural enhancement. And there are quite a few of these. One example is the things that are made of meteorite come with Magnetization 1. You cannot bring this back down. You can't try and refund the levels. You can't remove it. You can, however, I believe, increase the levels of some things that have multiple tiers. Magnetization does not, but if you had, for example, efficiency 1, you could increase it, and you could decrease it back to its original state, but not farther than that. But if you want to, you can certainly put unbreaking on here. You can certainly put silk touch, and all those good things. Provided, of course, you can pay for it. You've also got soul tether. You got either blood. You can blood attune it, or you can put an afterlife on it. Similar is the axe, but you also put sharpness, just as what you could on a sword. There's no soul tether, blood, or afterlife. I believe the way it works is that in general you can only put blood on tools or weapons, but you can put soul attunement on armor. I think that's the way it works. Same thing with a shovel here. Okay, now we get to the Enders, the Ender Giant Sword. And ideally you want this to be your number 1 enchanted weapon. Definitely max sharpness. So sharpness 5. You know how I feel about knockback. If you can, put a couple levels of looting into it. That'll save you a bit. Definitely put unbreaking on there. Okay, so one fine distinction I want to make here in this interface, we have here Soul Stealer. Now, Soul Stealer is used with the Soul Shards mod, which we're not really going to talk about much in Hexxit because it's mostly about making customized mob spawners, depending on what exactly you want to create. In general, it's used for automating things, like making automatic mob traps and that kind of stuff. You have better uses for souls in Hexxit with the Harkenside. Speaking of which, Soul Steal, one word. This is actually from Harkenside. What this does is it increases the chances that a soul will be dropped, and you can actually put this onto a weapon, and it will drop as if you used a scythe to try and harvest it that way. And then you also have Sanguinary and Ward, just as you would with the augment system. Okay, I'm gonna put a bow in here. This is a Legia bow, and you can put anything else you want, anything you want normally in here. So unbreaking, power, punch, flame. I will say one thing though. If you plan on using customized arrows like the ones from Better Dungeons, so anything like this here, sorry, like this here, you may not want to use infinity because I think this will just pick one of them, and it will just use normal sort of normal arrows. I don't think you'll get the additional uses from these arrows. So that's the one exception here. You can actually put magnetization on a bow. I didn't know you could do that actually. That might be useful. I would definitely recommend putting a blight on there if possible, and hemorrhage if you're able. Decapitate on a bow. Okay, my mind has been blown quite a bit, but that's the one from Harkins, as we know. Okay, so basically the scythe here and also the glaive basically have the same set as a sword or a giant sword does. You have Unbreaking, Soul Stealer. You get all these different things. Same as you do with the sword. Last thing I want to talk about briefly is a shield. As you can put, it acts like just an armor piece. You can put protection on there. As far as I can tell, I think this protection only applies when you're actually guarding with it, because I think the way protection works is that it prevents damage from going through the armor value and hitting you. However, I think that mostly applies first and foremost to the armor you're wearing, as opposed to the shield you have in your hotbar. But I could be wrong about that. I could be very wrong about that. If I am, please feel free to correct me. You can also put thorns on there. I'm breaking, not a terrible idea. And basically the same set you'd be able to use on any piece of armor. Okay, and this concludes our episode on the Enchanting Plus system. I hope you enjoyed this brief introduction to the world of Enchanting Plus in Hexxit. I recommend you get yourself go out there and get yourself quite a few levels. Get yourself some cloud boots, enchant those up, and you'll be able to do this. Ow! Well, do it a little more safely than I am. So, this has been Kanakadia for Hexxit Education. Class dismissed.